EU leaders have admitted in a statement that a lack of trust with America could affect the fight against terrorism. In a brief statement, heads of state said that diminishing trust could complicate future collaboration between countries. Now, this follows the latest leaks by whistleblower Edward Snowden that revealed the National Security Agency had been spying on 35 world leaders. RT's Tessa Arcilia reports.
In the latest document that Edward Snowden had provided The Guardian, we do see some more insight into the process of how this global surveillance was actually working. The fact that it had spied on 35 world leaders is one side of the matter. On the other hand, it had also encouraged senior officials belonging to departments such as the White House, the State Department, or the Pentagon to share their contacts with them, encouraging them to give phone numbers of these people that they wanted to spy on and put them on this surveillance list. And also, what's interesting that came out of this document is also the fact that it was acknowledged that the eavesdropping, the listening in on these hundreds of people, 35 world leaders, actually did not produce much. It produced, quote unquote, little reportable intelligence. And also, it's had some very real consequences already going up to the legislative level in the EU, for example, with the Parliament backing new rules to restrict the flow of data to the United States, and also MEPs now calling for a suspension of US-EU bank deal talks.
Now, for more on this, let's now bring in former UN diplomat Lode Vanoost, who's live for us from Belgium. Mr. Vanoost, thank you so much for joining us here on RT. Well, it looks like Europeans are making strong statements there, but when do you think they'll start switching from words to action?
Well, of course, the situation is quite historic in its proportions. This scandal is, there's nothing comparable in recent history. So what I'm saying is, so far, my guess is, if history is any lesson on the EU, they will not take any real measures. It will remain statements meant for public opinion.
Well, let's take a look at the history of the relationship regarding data protection and
Yes.
EU data protection specifically. Well, the measures were supposed to be launched 2 years ago, but were sort of prevented from, happening by Washington lobbyists. So will Brussels succeed this time? What do you think?
Well, if you say Brussels, you should distinguish between the European Commission and the European Parliament. The European Parliament is certainly going to demand some strong measures. They're going to go back on propositions that they made in the past, and they're going to say this has to change. I mean, there is also talk about ending the SWIFT banking agreement with the US, the cooperation on banking issues. So on that level, yes, they will do something. The whole matter is the European Union Parliament, is not the one that really decides. It's the European Commission. And there we already have a statement by Karel de Gucht, the EU Commissioner on Trade, who says, no, we should go on with the negotiations on this new free trade agreement. So what does that tell me? It tells me, just like I said, on the longer term, in the few weeks after the media toned down a bit the issue, they will just go on as business as usual. That is my expectation.
Well, let's take a look at Germany and France here, who say they are determined to establish the so-called no-spy agreement with the United States before the end of the year. So what do you make of this? I mean, do you see it as a sign of progress?
No, absolutely not. What is this? You catch an ally spying on you and say, well, we need a no-spy agreement. No, what you do is you take measures, just like what Brazil has proposed on the 24th September in the UN General Assembly. If they really mean business, France and Germany, then they will say, oh, what Dilma Rousseff, President of Brazil, proposed on the 24th September, that's a good idea, these 5 principles of having another kind of internet. Now, that is something that so far they have not done yet. On the contrary, the statements by the Brazilian president have been downplayed entirely in the Western media.
Okay, well, how can any kind of scaling back in cooperation work, taking into account that many European intelligence agencies collaborate closely with the NSA?
Well, the thing is, of course, when you say collaborate, that sort of presupposes equal partnership. I mean, it's collaborating with this huge partner on the other side. So it's basically having their assistant on the side, and they use their information. There's another element there that is not, the scandal is now about what the US is doing, but so far as I can tell, the European member states, their own intelligence agencies in my country, in Belgium, in France, in Germany, are also doing this kind of spying. So we have not seen the end of this scandal yet.
Well, looking at the situation that we have here at hand, as we can see, the NSA leaks have upset a number of European states and U.S. allies. So where does that, in your opinion, leave the United States?
Well, the thing is, the economic and political dominance of the U.S. is waning anyway, even before this scandal. And what this is doing is even, accelerating this process. I mean, the U.S. may be militarily the ruler #1 in the world for many years to come, but they are losing ground on the economic issues everywhere. I mean, why? I mean, their problem is not that they are spying. Their problem is, as far as they see it, that they have been caught at spying. No, that's another matter altogether. The thing is, why do they do that? Well, not to chase terrorists. They do that for economic reasons. They want to know what Europe is going to do towards the BRICS countries, toward Asia, toward Africa. They are afraid that they are losing ground. If you see that the Pacific Trade Agreement is not working out, so yes, they have a big problem.
All right, Lode Vanoost, former UN diplomat, thank you so much for sharing your views with us here on RT.